it's hard for me to come to grips with this reality, especially in this country. I just didn't think that innocent people could be treated this way. So I never and would have dreamed, in my worst nightmares, I wouldn't have thought that we would find ourselves in the place we're in right now. If you look at the history of our country, you see that while we certainly had our bright moments, I suppose, in recognizing that this is a country of immigrants and that they were formative for our nation, and that what was happening in this country was unique in the history of the world as far as we know. You know, it was a source of pride. But I really didn't believe we would regress to the point in which immigrants were seen as something really not worthy of human dignity, not worthy of our concern or our love. I never thought our country could show such a hardened heart to people who were simply seeking a place of refuge. They wrote a document called the Declaration of Independence, in which they said that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Endowed by our Creator. That was a fundamental principle upon which the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were also based, that the government is not the group or the organization that gives rights to people, but rather recognizes and protects rights that are already inherent in the human person. It is such a false narrative that we have adopted here in this country. One study after another has shown that if you were seeking a place where you could live with less fear of crime, and you had a choice between a native-born U.S. community and a native-born or an immigrant-born community, that you would be safer in the immigrant-born community than in the native-born. And yet, we've characterized this whole group as criminals. 99%, I would believe, of immigrants are good, deeply faithful people who simply want to provide a safe place for their children and to a place where they could provide for their basic needs and to make the country that they've adopted a better country. They would love that. The ones that I've met, and I have met thousands more than your average American, because I've worked with them and I've had a shelter right on my property where I live. I've met them. So I'm not speaking from ignorance. El Paso is such a fascinating place. And I might say, first of all, that it also has been smeared with the false narratives. People who go there and visit us, they come away, if they've had the slightest bit of an open mind, with an entirely different notion of what a border community can be like. Such a welcoming place, such a dynamic place of encounter. You know, we don't fear immigrants there. What the church proposes is not that we would simply remove any kind of vetting to those who wish to cross. We believe that there should be an orderly process, both for crossing for economic reasons and for in search of asylum. But if you really want to have a smooth process, then you have to address the situation in sending countries that is forcing people to leave. And this country, being one of the most powerful in the world and economically blessed, we have to accept our responsibility to help them to provide more stability, a healthy economy, and so on in these places. That's how you'll make a difference. If you want to call the level of immigration a crisis, then call it a humanitarian crisis, because there's a crisis that is forcing people out of their homes. There's a crisis in our response to them. But don't see immigrants as the crisis, and don't see them as though they are somehow a threat to our nation, because in fact they are the best hope of our nation and always have been. Our nation has benefited directly by their presence in far more ways than it has cost. For instance, studies have shown that they pay more in taxes, often taxes that provide no benefit for them. And I, like so many Americans, feel so helpless in a way to offer what I'd really like. But what I can offer is, first of all, my prayers and the prayer of the church, but also my accompaniment. Know that there are people that are walking with you, that care for you, that are seeking to give you a voice, and if you can't speak, to speak for you. We hope that if you know that you're not alone, that it brings you some sense of peace in the midst of this very difficult time.